What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be having an early look at Watch Dogs Legion, the latest hacking adventure from Ubisoft. This time set in a very near future dystopian London. I never quite got into Watch Dogs, but I did get to play a cheeky demo of Legion at E3 last year and I freaking loved it. I'm super stoked about this one because I've lived in London all my life, so being able to run around the city and check out all the different landmarks and stuff has been so much fun. But as usual, this review is going to be focused on the accessibility side of things, particularly the cognitive stuff that affects me personally. And I have to say, I am so impressed with how much work Ubisoft is doing with regards to accessibility. You can really tell that they're committed to it, and the fact that they published accessibility information several months before the release was amazing. The game starts off with you underground the Houses of Parliament as an operative named Dalton, tasked with investigating a threat. Watch Dogs Legion has your bog standard difficulty modes, easy, normal, and hard. I stared at these for a really long time before clicking on standard because I didn't feel like I had the information I really needed to make an informed decision. Luckily, you can change the difficulty mode during the game, so you can always drop it up or down partway through if you need to. There's also a simplified puzzles option if you want to adjust those too. The game has a huge amount of customization available in the menus, including a dedicated accessibility menu. But you'll also find useful settings for cognitive accessibility in nearly all of these menus. The game takes you step by step, teaching you the basics of each mechanic by putting you in a situation where you need to use it. This is pretty common in most games, but it is really important to note as it helps us learn by doing. And there is a fair amount to learn in this game. There's melee combat, shooting, driving, hacking, controlling bots and drones, and it can easily get overwhelming just trying to remember it all. Thankfully, you can press a button to display control reminders when you're engaging in that activity, which is useful for those of us who forget those kind of things. Annoyingly though, there aren't any control reminders for melee combat, which I would have really appreciated. Since I try to play quite stealthy, by the time I actually had to punch someone, I had completely forgotten how to do so. I personally didn't find the control scheme that intuitive. I felt like for a lot of actions you need to press 2 consecutive buttons to do a thing. For example, on Xbox you need to press LB and then A to hack. I think it will probably get easier the more I play, but I do wonder if maybe it would have benefited from some kind of simplified control system that you could opt into. There are in-game hints that are on by default, and the mission objectives are always on the left-hand side of the screen to remind you what you're doing, and if you're like me and find yourself easily distracted by a shiny landmark or a cool-looking character, this will be really helpful in jogging your memory. The in-game ping system, or Eagle Vision as I like to call it in literally any game that has it, lets you highlight enemies and objects in the environment that you can interact with, which I found really useful and I used it a lot, but I just wish that things would have stayed highlighted for a little bit longer. I found the captions really useful in helping me understand what's going on, and there's a lot of customization available. They actually go up to a pretty decent size, and you can pop on a black or translucent background too. It would have been even better if the menu gave you a preview of what that actually looked like, as it did in some of the other menus. The subtitles could maybe benefit from having different colours for different speaker names. The whole point of the game is that you can play as anyone, so there's a lot of switching between characters, and it can be a little confusing trying to follow all the conversations at all times. The font is super clear and readable, but unfortunately the font resizing is only in place for the captions and not the mission objectives or menu text, which I would have liked just a little bit bigger. There are even full transcripts of all the different sound files that you pick up, which is awesome, but I wish you could listen to them as you run around and explore instead of having to be sat in the menu twiddling your thumbs. They sound really interesting and I would have liked to listen to them a lot more, but having to sit there and listen was just a bit meh. Full captioning also lets you hear conversations going on all around you, as well as other environmental sounds. Legion uses directional arrows to show you where the sound is coming from, which you might recognise from other Ubisoft games. I found this really useful as I don't tend to play with things with headphones on because of my neck pain, so I tend to lose some of that auditory information. The game gives you a ton of control over what you see on screen, with the ability to turn individual elements of the HUD on or off, so you can customize exactly what information you have on screen. This is particularly good for players who need to reduce the amount of information or distractions on screen if they find themselves getting overwhelmed. If you're prone to motion sickness like me, there are a couple options that you might want to check out. You can turn the camera effects like shaky cam and screen distortion off in the accessibility menu. You can choose to have a persistent reticle. You can turn the motion blur off. So there's a lot of different settings to play with if you're feeling queasy, and I definitely recommend having a little click around. I haven't actually needed to use any of these settings yet, but it's nice to know that they're there. The navigation is pretty standard. We've got a nice little mini map in the bottom left hand corner of the screen and a big map in the menu with nice clear markers. If you set a waypoint on the map, you can follow the big arrows on screen to get where you need to go. The only thing that bugged me a little bit is not knowing how far away I am from the objective marker if I'm just looking at the mini map, unless I've actually gone into the main map to set a waypoint. That meant that sometimes I would start walking somewhere and several minutes later I would realise that I was still halfway across the map and actually I needed to fast travel or get in a car. You can of course go to the main map and have a little look, but it would have been nice not to have to take that extra step. Overall, I think that Ubisoft did a fantastic job when it comes to cognitive accessibility. You can really tell that things are improving bit by bit with every game they put out, and they really are leading the charge in a lot of ways. It's not an easy game to pick up because there are a lot of different mechanics and systems, and you're constantly switching characters, so there can be quite a lot to concentrate on at any given time. But I think they did really well at putting little things in place in order to make that cognitive load a little bit easier on players. I'm definitely going to be spending more time in this game. I'm having a ton of fun with it, and I would definitely recommend picking it up if dystopian London sounds like your jam, because it really is a wonderful, rich world and there's so much to explore. If you do pick it up, let me know how you get on and let me know if there were any barriers that you came across. I would love to hear your thoughts. That's all for now. I will be back real soon because freaking heck, there are so many games coming out soon and I can't wait to share them with you. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more from me, and I'll see you guys next time.